All right, so let's start. With the introduction. So, my name is Katya. I work for Talknow, which is an online coaching platform here in Berlin. And Ayham Kader, who is presenting today, is one of our coaches. And I just wanted to say that there's just two little things for the course of this webinar. Number one, if you have a question, don't hesitate to put it into the little chat box that is linked below on your screen. If there is time, Ayham will open up the conversation later on as well, so you can ask questions should you have any. Yeah, and without further ado, I'll pass it on to Ayham. You can introduce yourself. One more thing I wanted to say. If you like what Ayham has to say, if you feel inspired, and if you want to know more, maybe especially if you would like to explore this subject or other subjects with him in a one-on-one session, then you can, of course, book him on our platform, talknow.online. All right, passing it on to you, Ayham.
Cool. Hi, guys. My name is Ayham Kader, as Katya said. I'm a meditation and coach and DJ, in a sense that the coaching part, I think it's kind of a life coaching part, but the main focal point is meditation. And DJing is a matter of creating kind of also like a new form of guided meditation through electronic music. So that's basically what I'm labeling myself as a role for now. So this is what I'm doing. Basically, to give you a little bit of a background about myself, I actually studied accounting. I've done 10 years and 11 years of consultancy, business consultancy about that. And I wasn't in Berlin. I moved to Berlin like 3 years ago. I would say I was successful enough to maybe can't say the number, earn a lot of money, like around, I think I used to earn like around 9,000, 10,000 euros a month after tax. And I can clearly say that I wasn't happy for the last 7 years of my career. And I wasn't even working too long. So that was kind of a big alarm in my head. And so I went on a journey to explore things, to see exactly where I am, what I want to do, all that. The end result was meditation for me. Basically, I came to Berlin, and as a move, because I changed my career, came here to pursue music, which is something I want to do. As a result, I had a series of panic attacks for like 6 months. And the only thing that got me out of it is meditation. As a result, this is what I'm coaching now, coaching for. So this is a background about myself for now. And I don't know, we can, I think, start about talking about the topic right away. Yeah, Katya?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Cool. So you can clearly see maybe why the topic I'm talking about with this change. I've went through major changes in my life. And when I talk usually about change and why change is so difficult, I had a conversation once with a psychologist friend of mine, and she gave me a riddle. Like, what is the thing that the human mind hates the most? And the answer what I gave was change, which was surprised. Like many people don't really think about that change is actually very repulsive to the mind. And it's so rejective of it in a way. And my belief, my opinion about it is that it's because of our education. We have not been educated the right way, because most of our education is about pushing knowledge and into each person and to get to know more about everything. However, change, I don't think is a matter of knowing more about a certain subject in order for you to change. The fact of change is, as I see it, it's already happening. Change is happening all around us and within us as we speak. We're growing older, for example, right? Our kids are growing older as well. Things are changing. Our skills are maybe going down in one ways, are going up in other ways. So if change is happening, why do I feel and see that change is so difficult? What is the difficulty? Where is the difficulty if change is already happening? So that's a question I can ask myself. And so clearly I am not taking change in a healthy way, whatever is coming my way. So why am I not taking it, although it's happening? Why am I kind of rejecting a certain situation? Am I maybe preferring another situation, a specific situation that I want it to be in a specific way? And since what is happening right now is not really going along with what I have an image and I have a picture of, so I feel this resistance to the actuality of the change taking place, because I have certain expectations, certain dreams that maybe by now I think and feel I should have been achieving at least. Am I feeling disappointed all of a sudden? I'm realizing this disappointment is on and on. So this is what basically the thing about change is actually there is a contrast between the actual thing taking place and what I want and what I desire. This is the contrast that I think most of us, at least in our Western education, as it is now, maybe it is changing actually, but as it is now, it's like quite difficult. So how can I be in line with the actual thing? And I'm not saying that let's not work for our dreams, or let's not pursue a career thing. We're not talking about the material things for now. We're talking about our inner world, right? Like our inner psychological world, which is later on the outer world. The manifestation of that is an automatic result. So it starts from within. So how can I really see myself, or see this actually as clear as it could be? Just clearly. How can I see it clearly? Because if I see this clearly, I mean, I say this like the path clears out, the more it clears in. So am I really who I really am? Alan Watts said, I don't know if you guys know about Alan Watts. He's one of the, the philosophers I follow. He said that basically the question to who am I and what do I want are the same exact question, just asked differently. Are we comfortable with answering that I don't know who I am? I actually don't know what I want. I'm clear about what I want, which is it's very clear that it's gonna drive some happiness maybe in my life, because I'm promised in a certain advertisement, or I have a story that I've been taken through the ages. I'll get married, have kids, or have a career, have this car or this house. So this is gonna drive happiness in my life. Maybe let's call it now, since we're in this Corona time. So it's like basically financial security is a big theme. So is it really financial security, or is it a certain lifestyle, that a certain image that I want to basically maintain in my life? So all these kind of revolving topics that I'm in the middle now in this time of crisis, and I really feel lost. I feel scattered among so many things, because whatever I used to hold on to, this career, family life, is slipping away the way I see it. It's literally as a parent seeing their kid growing up. It's like it's changing from a year to year, phase to phase. And I can't keep up. I actually cannot keep up. Why? Because I don't have enough information. Am I gonna read the freaking whole library in order to deal with how my kid is growing up and changing his habits? Do I have the full attention that I can give him all the time, although I have a life? So clearly, no matter how much information I can get, it will never be enough, because information is always limited. No matter how much information I get about life and about myself, it's a funny thing, especially when someone asks me who I am. or how am I? Like I want to describe myself. However I describe myself, in whatever way I describe myself. So let's say I'm a meditation coach, for example, personally. Maybe you are a mother, maybe you are like a consultant, maybe a teacher, maybe you attach yourself to a role, like a societal role, like based on family or based on career, you know, maybe based on equality. The next question comes, how much did I leave out of myself that I did not communicate to you? Then, okay, so we can talk for the next 2-3 days to explain who I am. And that's even not going to be enough. So it becomes clear that information is at least articulate intellectual information, you know, the piece of information I kind of memorize or I identify with are not enough. Because in order to really observe the change that it is, I have to be facing uncertainty. Because every change, supposedly change is new, right? Because many of us, and I'm going to talk about it later, is like many of us is like, actually the change is not new. For example, jumping from a partner to partner only to realize that I'm actually attracting the same kind of people. So it seems like change, but it's not really change because I'm still attracting the same patterns that I am. But now let's just take a step back and talk about like information. So why is change so terrifying? Let's go back to the question. We said that we are basically utterly dependent on information in order to navigate life and to navigate the future, which is happening in the present as we speak. And without information, I'm in the dark. So what should I do? How can I deal with the unknown? And this is the main fear. The unknown is a huge topic, which is actually nothing. It's not a topic. And if we want to really know how terrifying or how severe our culture is wounded from the unknown, you can see all religions. You can see the funerals that we have, the cultures about funerals that we do have. Like the Egyptian civilization, for example, all these kind of old ancient graves, like promising us that there is something on the other end, just because we don't know. Now, that's all symbolism about, I think, and how can we really be robbed of our lives? And I mean this in the word, like literally. We are being robbed of our daily life due to our fear of the unknown. And we're not educated to really actually see the unknown for what it is. If I can maybe make it a little bit intellectual, and if you can give me your undivided attention for just like this 5 minutes, because I think it's important. So the 3 main schools of the West, psychological schools, such as psychoanalysis and all that, about what is the fundamental drive for human behavior. So the one school, I think, is from Freud, which is, he said the will to pleasure, fundamental drive for human behavior is pleasure. And another school said power, fundamental drive is power. The third school said meaning. Its fundamental drive is meaning, like meaning in my life. This is all a personal opinion that is linked. So yeah, please also exercise your thinking whenever it's possible. It's just an opinion, what I'm sharing for now. So when you think about, okay, power, pleasure, meaning, they all make sense because we see their effects in the real world. We see who's pursuing pleasure, actually sacrificing everything else just for pleasure, like addicts and all that. And we have also power. Nations have been wiped out just for power, and meaning as well. People have lost themselves and actually isolated themselves from everyone just to achieve that specific meaning. But as an example, how would I know what is powerful unless like I have a preconceived idea what is power, what does power mean, like what is power in fact. Like in pleasure, to explain pleasure, it's gonna be a little bit clearer. So do I know pleasure before I actually do it? Because in order to discover pleasure or live pleasure, I have to do or perform a certain activity or consume something that I discover in the process. Oh, I'm feeling something. It's a sensation. And that sensation, oh, it's pleasure. So from on, oh, this is pleasurable activity. So I'm going to go back to that. But now the question is, am I going back to what? I'm going back to pleasure, or am I going back to the memory I had of pleasure? I had the real experience, let's say. But now what I'm going back to, or what I'm chasing, is just the memory that I had from that experience. So I'm chasing the memory. I'm not chasing pleasure. That's why addictive behavior is so destructive, because I keep chasing that first high. Same thing with being in love. I chase that feeling of being in love, and I never get there. And the rest is just basically a series of disappointments that I have to keep numbing myself for. I'm just like talking about the results of it. So I'm chasing that particular experience that I had, and I'm trying to fulfill it. But it's not even that. It's even maybe a bit step deeper, that I've been told through society, through advertisement, and there is a great reason why billions of dollars and euros are being spent on advertisement, brainwashing. So I'm going to be told what is pleasurable. I'm going to be told what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And I'm going to go chase it. And of course, it's going to maybe work for a little bit, because that's kind of the mental stimulation. But after a while, I'd realize it's not really the experience that I've been promised. The idea in my, even the idea like in my head, because the sensation does not go along with the idea. So the will to pleasure, the will to power, and the will to meaning, it's all basically seeking a bunch of memories and ideas that I am familiar with. So I think from my perspective that the fundamental drive for human behavior, as it is to most of us, is the will to the familiar. We are seeking what we are comfortable with, what we kind of already know. And that's why change is so freaking hard, because we think we're changing, but we're going back into the same circle. We're going to go back, ending up with the same people. Like for example, the relationship between me, like let's say, and my parents, as fundamental factor of the future partner I'm going to have. Why is that? Because it's familiar. And you guys actually, you can like research about that, like Bon Deleton as well. He talked about that a lot. So let's assume your approval in order to go forward. Otherwise, it's a big topic for discussion. But I'm just going to assume that we agree on that. Let's say like most of our lives are driven by what is familiar rather than what is new and unknown. So since I'm kind of conditioned to a life of knowledge, apparently I am conditioned, or we are conditioned to a life of information, that I am stagnant or almost paralyzed if I don't have information. Intellectual information, written words, specifically what that means and what does that mean, what is the next step. And that is limited. Like this is, I think, probably so we are so conditioned to it that we're kind of crippled, and we're always waiting for society to take step. It's always like that also, like passive human behavior, that I need someone else to take a step in order for me to take that step, because I'm so, let's call it, addicted to the familiar. But how can I deal with that? I'm not gonna say how can we deal with the unfamiliar. We're just gonna talk about, like, maybe it's gonna be an extreme example, but let's talk about sex for a little bit. We can learn about sex as much as we want in terms of moves or certain positions in order to pleasure each other and go into that space. But no matter how much we know about what certain positions, if I don't feel my partner, if I don't feel her or him, kind of sense their movements, kind of look at their eyes and see what their eye mean without words, the way they breathe, the way they flinch, the way they move, the way they shiver, maybe even the way when they say just get the hell out, but without actually saying it, or I had enough without actually saying it. So information in that term does not really help. It helps a little bit maybe for a bit, but for the actual selfless experience, it doesn't. The moment decides what is. So we're learning, I'm learning my partner, my partner learning me in the moment without any teacher. It's just through our sensors, our sensations, like the senses that we have and the sensory experience. So what I learned from that I don't need words and like intellectual information or information in the form of intellectual wording in order to understand the person in front of me. And as a result, to understand myself, which is this actually comes first. What do I want really? Not I want in terms of words. Because, and that's the thing that I think most of us are not really paying attention to, that words and language is just a tool. Yet we have lost the ability to really interact with the actual thing, and we are actually busy dealing with the word. For example, instead of dealing with jealousy, the actual feeling of jealousy, we are dealing with what does that word mean to us? Because when you look deeper, for example, to how jealousy functions as an emotion, it's completely different from what the word means to each of us. I cannot tell you how many conversations, pointless conversations I've had for like an hour, not about feelings, but just discussing a certain topic. And then by the end of like maybe the 20 minutes, I realized that what they think that word mean is different from what the meaning of the word that I have. So in order for me to really understand myself, I have to look beyond the information that I have stored in my head in terms of thoughts. So I think we're already talking about understanding our emotions, because let's bring it back and link it to change. If I am resistant to change, right? And we said that it's not I'm resisting the change, but I have resistance within me. I am being challenged. Something is being challenged within me. And that sensation is an emotional sensation. Now, before I go and assign that sensation to a particular emotion or reason of why am I feeling that, trying to figure it out without understanding it, by trying to get a fast solution, right? Go to the internet, 10 steps to be healthier, or 15 steps to have a better financial stability. I don't know, transform your life from, I don't know, actual to online, or whatever it is that I want to do. But since that emotional phenomenon that is taking place here has infinite amount of information. It does. We feel it stronger than any word could. But we're not trained or educated to deal with this realm without words. And I think this is where mainly comes or one of the main reasons why meditation comes into place, which is basically perceiving the world not in symbols, but in actually the actual thing that takes place. So in order for me to partake in that change, which I'm resistant to, first of all, we have freed ourselves from what that change means in terms of symbols. It's a change, but I don't know exactly what the change is. It is just a clear change that is taking place. So that is taking place. I have the sensation. Let's say uncomfortable. Let's say uncomfortable for now. Not going to assign anything to it. I'm just uncomfortable. So what does discomfort mean? And we just go into it. We breathe it out and in. As someone is delivering a baby, as a woman is delivering a baby. Breathing, that's all there is. Just breathing and pushing, basically. Breathing and pushing. That's all you need, basically, apparently, to bring a new life into the world. To disengage the thinking part. Because if you're going to engage the thinking part, actively engage it, we will generate all sorts of scenarios that will take our energy, or the energy that is already taking place, and go in different circuits, creating all different kinds of scenarios that will eat our energies out, and nothing will be done. Inner, hence, of course, mind afterwards, like outer. So, to really just take it in. We don't need to command ourselves to take certain actions. If you walk in the street and you see a car coming fast, you don't step. Or you're in the middle of the street and you see a fast truck coming. You instinctively take an action without thinking about it, and you move away. So that fear of the unknown could be over-exaggerated. Because actually, if you think about it, most of the activities that we love involve the unknown. Actually, it's all about the unknown. All the creative work is in the unknown. Creativity comes from the unknown. So hence, if you want new change, real new change, it should come from the unknown, because it has to be creative. Otherwise, it's not really new. And it's not really change. It's just a matter of, hey, I'm not, just like maybe minor change, like I'm using one pen and then I'm using a different pen. It's not really like that. Now, again, regarding this, is our I'm referring to our psychological life. In terms of learning new techniques, maybe I want to learn a new language. Maybe I want to study the kind of transferring my business from, the material world into the web, right? This is new skills that I have to learn. It's actual, it's there. So this is clear, right? But this is a kind of resistance that we're dealing with. We're dealing with resistance, financial resistance, because of our attachments. Maybe we are attached to the way that we used to work in our old way of working. Maybe we're attached to maybe dealing with certain people face to face, and instead of dealing with people like now, facing a screen. Maybe of being afraid, not being able to connect with one another, and etc., etc. So all these attachments are dead. Actually, any attachment, if you think about it a little bit, although it's a deep topic, I don't want to just drop the bomb here. But attachment, we're not attached to human beings, because attachment is static. It does not evolve. If you can see it, just reflect on it a little bit. My attachment to my mother or my father are static. They're the parents. They don't evolve. Although me and you, we evolve. We're human. We're live beings. We're different from a day to other. But the attachment is the same. And then, so instead of actually looking at each other and having this relationship attachment-free, meaning that it's going to grow endlessly, day to day, seeing the person as if I am seeing them for the first time. But we don't do that. So, of course, when we deal with the attachment as if I'm dealing with the person, I'm going to get a lot of resistance. Because am I dealing with you? Am I having a relationship with you? Or am I having a relationship with the idea I have of you? Same. Am I dealing with the world, or am I dealing with the idea I have of the world? Am I chasing my dream? Am I chasing a dream, or am I chasing an idea of the dream? Same thing goes. Am I expressing myself, or am I expressing an idea I have of myself? And by that, I'm just limiting myself. It's really, I'm sorry, but I would say it's tragic. It's really tragic how, like, I'm living it as well, like, because our past conditioning is taking place every day. So I think, yeah, re-educating ourselves in terms of accepting whatever's taking place, or just taking whatever's taking place, take it in. Without making something out of it, without chasing something, just take it in. And then see what this organism and this body tells you to do. Not in terms of words, but you will see it happening. Like, you don't have to tell yourself to go to pee when you need to pee. You just go pee. Unless you have a meeting and you have to finish the meeting and someone is holding you from that, and then is like, by the way, I don't have to go pee. I'm just saying. So basically, yeah, I think that would be it.
All right. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.
Yes, very inspiring. Definitely a good starting point to add another 5 hours to discuss this very broad subject.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you say, I think it was pretty easy to like see yourself in that and be like, yeah, I get it. But I kept trying to bring it back to the idea of change, and and I realized that change is such a broad term, and there's so many things that I associate with the idea of change. And I think the point that I took away from what you were saying was that, yeah, we are resisting to personal change, like, I mean, I thought of change as an outside thing, but I think you're really thinking of it as an inside thing, about something that, like identity, I think, is the word that comes to my mind, that we see ourselves as this person who, has these interests, these friends, these parents, and we are a construct of ourselves, basically. But what I really want to know is, which I understand is the next step and is the work that, you do in coaching, and is probably not a 5-minute answer, but how do we go from, being dependent on relying on these constructs that we have in our mind? How do we break out of that? How do we take this firm structure and make it a little more malleable, that we can build around it and create new shapes? Because you were saying, for example, about the relationship with the parents, you were saying that relationship doesn't evolve, but I would argue that in my case, I would say it did, because the more I expanded my consciousness and I realized that my parents are also just people, I became a lot more forgiving with things that maybe I wasn't so happy with growing up.
That's basically, that's one of the main steps, like realizing that your parents are not superheroes. They're just human beings that screw up as much as I do. So what happened there is that your identity as a daughter have broken down. That attachment your identity have transformed. So as a result, now you are also more mature. The same way that they went kind of more human, you also became more like an adult. And the same thing goes with any types of change. Maybe, like, for example, I had personally a huge difficulty jumping into the music production. I'm not a music producer. I don't even have music in my life. I don't have any musicians like most of my colleagues. So to really kind of eliminate the past identity as a consultant and to move to a new identity, which is now I'm a music producer, I realized the futility of it. Not to have any identity whatsoever. But we're not like that. I cannot tell you, hey, by the way, all your identities are not helping you out in anything. Like they're maybe helping you out now, maybe in what you're doing. But later on, they're going to stop you from taking the next step. So it's kind of this identification with what I'm doing or with what I'm used to do. So now in this new crisis, this demands a new identity. Because I don't want to be doing that new job. I used to like what I used to do. Why should I do that? The world sucks. My government sucks, or my friend sucks, and I start, projecting and blaming and all that just because I don't want to see the necessity and the actual thing taking place. I'm not saying maybe how you are, maybe it works. Who knows? Nobody knows. But if you're attached to a single idea or an identity that you have, you're not going to be able to take that step. Even if you took that step while holding that identity, you're not going to be doing a good job. Even if you do a good job, you will have, God forbid, you'll be sick. We will be sick. The stress will be piling up underneath our skin. So, and do we want to live that way? To really everything with willpower? It doesn't work. That's my aim, actually, also, like to live an effortless life. I don't want to, when I love something, I love something. Like I don't, there's no effort in it. It doesn't register in my head as if it's effort. Because it's actual, it makes sense. It just makes sense, not based on an idea or a book or a certain news or whatever. It's just like, it's all one. What I see out, what I see in is matching. Not matching in terms of, again, an image or a picture. It's just matching. But that needs a lot of self-observation and attention. That's why we talk about meditation. And meditation is not really the 5 minutes of standing like this. It's basically perceiving the world. Again, free from symbols and wording and identities and all that. With all that included in life, in order to really have a clear view. And then when you have the clear view, the step is not going to be, the seeing will be the action itself. Like, how can I say it? When you see, when a certain, I always drive it to kids because it's really, I think it's very natural. When the kid is going somewhere dangerous, you just go. I mean, hopefully, like an attentive mother, you just go. They say a hero does not think; they just do. They just go and save whatever needs to be saved without thinking if they should do that or not. So, because they're clear, it's very clear what needs to be done, right? It's not clear in our heads what needs to be done, because I'm already have a different picture in my head that is already outdated. I have certain habits in my head that are already expired, but I'm maintaining it because that maintains my identity. And I keep basically having a toxic lifestyle. It might be fancy, but it's freaking toxic, Yeah.
What's the way out? What's the ticket to a new me?
What can I say? I mean, just
when I think of meditation, I think of like clearing my mind of thoughts. But when I think of changing my identity, I think of introspection, which is more active,
I mean, I can't, the thing is, meditation takes a huge amount of forms. And this conversation is meditation. Why? Because we're perceiving things together now. We're giving a fresh look, right? Without judgment, as much as possible, of course. And even if the judgment would take place, We observe that. Hey, why are we judging that? And we go deeper. So observing myself, observing, just observation. Just look. Like the thing is as well, I have this kind of maybe conspiracy theory idea or whatever, just like it's just maybe half a joke. Maybe you are really driven and we're kind of conditioned to ones and zeros, like how machines and technology is, that it's either yes or no, either it works or doesn't. Either you're, I'm addicted to, I'm a smoker, I'm addicted to smoking. So either you quit or you don't. No, that's not the way nature works. Nature purifies itself over a cycle. And it's a cycle after cycle after cycle, right? So I'm a living being. I am part of here, not I am the idea again, but this is part of nature. This is nature. So if I want to cleanse myself from, if this needs to be cleansed of something, it will take its own time and its own process. If something is urgent, it will be dealt with in an urgent way. If it's not, then it's going to take its own course. So again, how will I differentiate between what is urgent and what is not urgent? By looking. Because if I base it on information, I'm lost again. I'm back in the game of, I don't know, fulfilling a certain, I don't know, getting a certain medication or certain certificate or blah, 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 or get this, I'm going to achieve this with that. It's really, yeah, it's really confusing trying to seek guidance in this world, I would say. So just observing myself in the moment, and I'm going to say all the time, because like I sometimes once, like someone told me, like, should I really observe myself all the time? It's like, would you like to live a lie? And he just did not answer. And this is actually the thing. We escape more than we live. Like what did I say? Most animals fake death so they can live. We fake life, like fake having a good life. And we end up being dead all the time because we're escaping. It's like, even if I see someone doing an amazing...
Hang on. We fake having a good life?
Yeah.
You need to elaborate. That's...
like
there's a lot of explosion in that phrase that needs clarifying.
Like I'll give you an example. Like, it's just an example. Just because I'm having an amazing career does not mean that I'm escaping something so bad. Like, we have always seen these examples of people who, let's say, have an inferiority complex, and as a result they have to obtain such an amount, like such gigantic amount of power, just to they can get over the inferiority complex. So we praise that. We actually praise it. Our culture and society praise this overachievement, let's call it, right? But they're actually unhappy. I'm not going to judge, but assuming, right, in this scenario, right, that they're actually quite unhealthy with it. And there are clear examples of how unhealthy successful people are. Even our own definition of success is flawed. It doesn't make sense.
What's your definition of success?
I honestly don't have one. Because every time I make one back in the days, it gets broken. It's the same thing with what is love, it's like just answering it limits it. But
it's potential.
I like how it sounds. But honestly, success would be meeting whatever is meeting me. This is what I think it is. Like, yeah, meeting whatever is meeting me. If that makes any sense.
I like the idea of success coming back to the three, fundamental drives that you were describing earlier on: pleasure, power, meaning, which are all very nice, achievable, things worth achieving. So I guess success is definitely kind of a notion or a combination of the three, really.
Is it?
I mean, I think everything is so relative, and everything is so personal. And there cannot be one definition of a concept like that, because something that is meaning success for one person will not mean success for the next one. So it's I think impossible to try and give one global definition for something like that.
You know, Katya, I used to, well, still a little bit, but I used to be a classic overthinker. Like I was thinking.
I would never guess.
Like overthinking to a degree that I wrote a book. That sucks. You know, it's really not good. But to realize how thinking about these stuff really don't matter in a way. So when someone asks me, like sometimes I say, what is the 2 rules of meditation? The only 2 rules of meditation. So the first rule of meditation is do it. And the second rule of meditation, just don't talk about it. So just keep observing. And by the way, it doesn't take much. It's just maybe also there's just these 2 minutes of just 2 minutes of taking breath, basically, and just, you know, see what is popping up or whatever. Just look. That's enough. That is really enough. It's not a ritual. Doesn't have to be a ritual. It doesn't have to achieve something, because for me to really observe my life, what it is, rather than what I think it should be, is love. Is love. That is love. Looking at that person and just listening without just the act of listening, and actually listening rather than just translating what they're listening, just listening to another and to myself. That's love. The shocking fact is that we don't like to do it. Now, what does that tell me? That you cannot really spare 2 minutes to really just, and then that's a question mark by itself. But then, you know what? Shut up. Just let me, how can I make money? That's the end of the story. That's the thing. Do we want something? You know what I mean? And the thing is, well, why do I have to be happy to achieve all these things where I can be happy with this? Like sorry, but maybe I'm over talking about this point, but this is actually just struck me. It's a week ago. It's really struck me. It's like happy people have a simple life. Like I've seen, like, but they're not happy because of their simple life. They are happy because they have, like, as a result, they have they have a simple life because they don't need much. If we are not gonna be happy with more, if we're not happy with less, we will never be happy with more. Never, ever. I mean, I can say this with complete confidence. If I'm not happy with less, how can I be happy with more? Because the more I have, the less, it's always going to be more and more. So it's like, again.
I think again, I would argue with the question of individuality, because, you were talking about how the comfort in the familiar. Yeah. And of course, if you grow up having a simple life, then that's all you're striving for. And that's what makes you happy, and like, I come from a small town where a lot of people, that's their truth, but it was not my truth, like I was the complete opposite. I was like, where am I? I felt like an alien in my, in my hometown and in my society, basically. So, again, it does boil down to individuality and how people are and what works for them and what doesn't. But before we carry on, we only have 2 more minutes. So I just want to quickly open this up to the room. There haven't been any questions in the chat. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? Anything that you want Ayham to elaborate on? You can unmute yourselves and either ask the question or type it into the chat box. Crickets. Okay. That's definitely no problem. I'm enjoying this conversation just as a dialogue, basically. maybe to close, since we are heading for the final minutes, you know, we live in a time of change, obviously, with coronavirus. And you said something that I thought was really beautiful. You said change comes from the unknown because it has to be created, you know, and the idea of creation obviously implies that we're all artists, you know, and having studied Freud extensively, Freud basically, you know, that's one of his main statements, where every thought is a creative act, you know, every action is a creative act because it's, you know, coming, it's coming from within, and it's something new. It's something that wasn't there before. So inherently, we are all used to creating, and we're all used to yeah, because I mean, if you want to be super philosophical about it, everything is the unknown. Every second from now is unknown, because I don't know if a meteor is going to hit any moment now. You know, I mean, my assumption is that it's familiar, but that's subjective. That's not objective, because I literally don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 seconds.
Yeah.
What is the question? Well, the question is, you know, living in times of Corona, like how can we be more daring in this creation, and are, you know, attempting to adapt and attempting to be more comfortable with the change.
I mean, it's kind of, in a way, there are two types of death, I would say. Maybe it's gonna be, there's the actual death taking place, you know, someone dying, and no, that person who dies, they don't care, they're dead, end of story. So that's not really the thing that we're afraid of. We're afraid of the idea of death, of what death means. You know, it's like, how, you know, what will my friends do? What's going to happen to my money? What's going to happen to my pets? What's going to happen to my image? If people going to remember me the good way or not? So this is what we live with, is the idea of death, right? Which is basically the attachments to the, I'm going to say, to identity and individuality that I have. So living and dying, in a funny way, if we take that the actual death that we live with is not the actual death, it's the idea of death that we carry on, that we live, that we carry all the time. So to adapt to life, there should be no adaptation, which is basically you live and you die in the same time. You live for what the moment is, and you die for whatever you think it is. And that is a whole new form of education. That is a different education, because that's the, I mean, I don't know if I should talk more about it, but.
Wait, I'm not sure I understand. So you live for what it is, and you die for what you think it is?
Yeah. So I come and have a dinner with you.
Yeah.
And I have a picture of how this dinner should be. And then it's not like that, then I get disappointed. So I ruined the moment. Actually, I'm not happy with the moment because it's not what I think it should be. But I missed it, whatever it is. So, yeah, living.
Why wouldn't you make that about you? Why wouldn't you, like, I think that's an interesting next question on this whole subject.
Yeah.
Is, to what extent do we make the outside experience about us, and to what extent do we make it about the experience, you know? So like, am I passive in this in this story, or am I active?
Yeah, I get you. Which is a little bit, this is such a deep topic. There is no teacher without.
You have 5 minutes.
Well, I'll try. But there is no teacher without a student. The name teacher does not exist if the student does not exist. A mother does not exist without a child. So myself is only 50% of any picture. So there is really no separation between me and the other. I only think there is a separation between me and the other because I have an I. Self-centered activity. I exist in this form or this thing. Like there is me and you. There is borders between countries, although it's one earth, you know. I put my flag. All these borders are we create them hypothetically, and then we believe them, and they divide us. So the separation between me and the other is only an idea. It's not really actual. And you see the racism, it's clear, the destruction that happens just because we like to separate things. How can I really look? It's all one. The whole thing is one. Harmony is all one. That means that I have to listen to you, take care of your issues. If they are real or whatever, like just be together, you know, like just togetherness in that sense. But am I really there for togetherness, or am I there for specific intention? Am I there for specific intention? Yeah, maybe I am there just for that intention. But then having clarity about that intention sets me free. I don't want to lie. Maybe you are here just so I can have talk about a certain future jobs, or maybe I am here just so I can have fun for a little bit. Maybe I'm just fun. We all had this growing up, having friends, and then I realized they're just drinking friends, and then oh no, they are drinking friends, and you know, it's always like, so the intention decides. And based in all religions, actually, spiritual practices, they say that based on your intention, you'll be rewarded. Like the intention is crucial in the rewarding system. In that kind of different way, we are, or I am at least now, promoting or pushing forward. Can you live a life without intention, without intellectual intention, at least with each other, with human beings? Can I be with you without any intention? I'm just there because I'm there. I love you. Why? No reason. I love this job. Why? Do you have a days to talk about it? Maybe the change that I'm proposing actually is to do something real for us, something really actual, rather than just to reinvent the rat race. That's what I'm proposing. You're just reinventing. The invention is just using the same parts, juggle them. It's the same game.
Wow. Well, I have to say my head is steaming. I'm fascinated by everything you say, but I feel like, okay, I need to first of all, ask many more questions all the time and not let you finish your phrases. And second of all, it's just, it's all very deep, but so fascinating. Thank you so much for taking the time. We are through with our webinar, but yeah. At this point, I would like to remind people who are attending, if you are interested in booking a session with Ayham, a one-on-one session, if you feel like what he has to say is interesting and you might be interested in, you know, exploring yourself further. Oh, thanks, Jeremy. Then yeah. We will send you an email tomorrow with some more information. And yeah, thank you so much for attending. And
thank you for having me.
We'll see you for the next webinar in 2 weeks. There will be more info about that at that point. Thank you. Ayham. Bye.
Ciao, guys. Ciao, everyone. Bye.